why would they need to use a spy balloon to rattle some cages? Why? Surely China has more sophisticated technology than this.
They're high, they're sneaky, and they can creep across the skies, vital skies, over the Arctic, which is a very hot communication zone, almost undetected, as we found, because it's become clear that they've been launching these things since 2017. That's nearly 6 years by my math. And now we've become aware that they are a real threat. Why? Because they can jam communications. They can interfere with digital warfare. And where does Europe and NATO have its first digital war? Ukraine.
Right, brilliant. I'm so glad we've got you, because you can help me understand this, Robert, in a little bit more detail. So have they, as you say, they've been doing this for 6 years, but why are we now, why are America, why is it Western governments are only now cottoning onto them? Why are we now seeing them and shooting them down?
I think you're being very polite. I think why are they only waking up to this now? Because Taiwan has been seeing this kind of activity for a very, very long time, I think for nearly 10 years. Where the surveillance bit of kit of choice, and it's not just a kiddies party number, are these balloons, because they're, sorry, pardon the illusion, they're silent and deadly. They're very difficult to detect, as Tom explained beautifully. Radar, the highly sophisticated, high-level radars tend to filter them out, but I don't think albatrosses and vultures fly at 40,000 feet. But it's another part of the mix, and it's very much part of what you have trailed with the defense agenda, the defense budget now. We are extremely vulnerable from all sides, from China, from Russia particularly, on communications. And that includes your and my mobile phones.
Right, let me tell you what some of our very clever viewers and listeners have been getting in touch and saying. Hugh has said... Well... Possibly. Hugh has said, let's be honest, China isn't going to invade Britain. It hasn't invaded Taiwan yet, or Japan, or South Korea. I doubt its people would stand for the disruption the Chinese government caved in on COVID due to uncontrollable unrest across the country. Does Hugh have a point?
It's a very good point, but I would add Chinese too, as it's now you see me, now you don't. They've got a very peculiar and complex foreign policy. Top-end confrontation, Straits of Taiwan, building out into the atolls, causing a lot of trouble and damage right across the Pacific with fishing fleets. It's a huge part of aggressive activity by China. But China loves its trade. China, with its aging population, has to live by trade. So it can't sort of hack off Europe and the allies overmuch because it needs them. Look at their interests in Europe's premier port, the Europort at Rotterdam. They're trying to buy into Genoa, Trieste. They have great chunks of Paris. It is very, very complicated. But what our worry must be is what they may be sneaking through to third party. Obviously not to the enemy, very complex, very important now, India, but they could be sneaking through to Russia. Some vital stuff about communication which relate to what I said earlier, the digital war that is being fought out across Eastern Europe now.
So do you see it, Robert, more as a kind of information gathering mechanism? It's, you know, when people are saying, well, we're not being invaded by the Chinese.
Yes, they picked up sensors. Right. That's number one. So I'm not going to go to point 2 and 3. Point 2 is interruption, disruption. And that must be the real worry. And it is a real worry now. Because if China is doing it from above in the atmosphere, we know, particularly since last February the 24th, that the Russians have been doing it underwater, looking at our undersea cables, where you get tens of trillions of transactions done per day, per week. And this is where we are on alert. It actually plays very strongly for Ben Wallace's bid for more money. But where Ben Wallace, I think, is right, I disagree with him about quite a number of things, but what he is right and is not getting through to his government, let alone to the opposition, defence, security, communication, resilience, the complexity, it's now centre stage. It is centre of the political agenda. And I think Village Westminster has yet to wake up to that.
So what we're looking at really is a cyber war. Am I right?
Yeah, a cyber war, digital war, info war. Yes, they're all interlinked, and that's what one would hope. There is this new so-called integrated review looking at the whole piece of national security and strategy due on March the 7th. I hope this takes it on board. I'm a bit worried because actually they're very slow at writing in Whitehall. They've got to bring that one up to date because this really is a new development.